Hello, today's going to be a recap of the work that we've been doing recently. So before we get on with that, we're just going to do our starter question. We've just got one today where we're going to multiply out a cubed bracket. So remember, when we've got a bracket cubed, it means multiplied by itself 3 times. Okay, and the way that we multiply 3 things together is multiply 2 of them together first. So we're going to multiply this bracket and this bracket together, and then we're going to simplify the answer and then multiply it by that one. So when we multiply these first 2 brackets together, we're going to get another big bracket, and then we're going to be multiplying it by 2x minus 5. Okay, so to multiply the first 2 brackets out, we need 2x times 2x is 4x squared. You mustn't forget the squared there. 2x times negative 5 makes negative 10x. Then we've got negative 5 times 2x gives us another negative 10x. And then we've got negative 5 times negative 5, so that's plus 25. Now, before we start multiplying out, let's just simplify this. So this minus 10x gives us minus 20x. Okay, and just before we go any further, I'll point out that when I've been marking exams and assessments in the last couple of years, I have noticed if we give you this kind of a question, some people forget these brackets and then they go on ahead, so they multiply these 2 out correctly, don't put the brackets there, and then all they're doing is multiplying the 25 by this bracket. But it needs to be everything here that multiplies by the 3rd bracket. Okay, anyway, so now we're going to multiply this out, and I think we're going to use a table to do this. It's easiest to see what we're doing. So we need 4x squared minus 20x plus 25, and we're going to multiply that by 2x minus 5. So we're just going to fill in all these spaces in our multiplication table. So 4x squared times 2x is 8x cubed. Then in the second space, we'll go along the top and then along the bottom of the table. So the second space, we've got minus 40x squared, and then plus 50x. And then on the bottom row, we've got 4x squared times negative 5, so that gives us negative 20x squared. Then we've got a negative 20x times negative 5, so that's positive 100x. And then we've got 25 times negative 5, that's minus 125. Okay, these ones all link together. So all together, we've got 8x cubed. Then in x squared, we've got minus 40 and minus 20, so we've got minus 60. Then we've got 50x and 100x, and they're both positive. And then minus 125 on the end. Okay, so that's that. No more simplifying required. So what we're going to do today is just a recap of all the number work that we've been doing recently. Okay, so 0.34 times 800. A couple of different ways of doing that. Remember, when you're multiplying by 800, you need to be multiplying by 8 and multiplying by 100, and it doesn't matter what order you do that in. So I would suggest, because we've got a decimal here, the best way to do it is 0.34 times 100 first, because that just gives you 34, and then times that by 8. So 4 8s are 32, 3 8s 24, add 3 is 27. So the answer is 272. So the next one, 4.2 divided by 5,000. So we're going to need to do 4.2 divided by 5 anyway, and then divide by 1,000. So 5 into 4 doesn't go. Carry the 4. 5 into 42 goes 8. Remainder 2. Add another 0. 5 into 20 goes 4. So we've got 0.84 that we need to now divide by 1,000. So we're going to move our digits 3 places to the right. So that basically means we're going to have to put 3 zeros in there to keep the 8 and the 4 3 places to the right of the decimal point. Okay, next one. 35.7 times 8.4. We're going to do this with long multiplication. And remember what we do is on this row, so for the whole thing until the end, we ignore the decimal points. On this row, we're going to do 35.7 times 8. We're going to ignore the 4, but we're going to make it times 80 by putting a 0 in here. Then we're going to ignore the 8, and we're going to do 357 times 4, and that's going to go in here. Then we're going to add them up, and then we're going to decide where the point goes. Okay, so ignoring the 4, we've got 7 8s are 56. Remember, we'll put the 0 in there. 5 8s are 40, add the 5. 3 8s 24, add the 4. And then 7 4s are 28. 5 4s are 20, add the 2. 3 4s are 12, add the 2. Then adding up, we get 29988. Excuse me. And in the question, you can see we've got 1 decimal place there and 1 decimal place there. So we need 2 decimal places in the answer. So there it goes. Okay. And then we've got fraction. So I'm just going to write it underneath, so I can work across the way. So remember, we leave the whole numbers as they are for adding and subtracting. And we change the fractions so we've got a common denominator. And the common denominator is going to be 45. So 5 is being multiplied by 9, so the 1 needs to be as well. And then 9 is being multiplied by 5, so the 7 needs to be as well. So we've got 4 take away 1 is 3. And then 9 take away 35 is negative 26. So 3 take away 26 over 45 gives us 2 and 19 45ths. And that fraction won't simplify. Okay, next one, put in order, smallest first. So let's change all of these to percentages. Okay, so 0.84 we can see is 84%. 0.804 is 80.4%. We've already got our 88.5%. So then we need to change our fractions into percentages. Remember how we do that? Change it into a decimal first for 7 8s. So we're going to do 7 divided by 8. So 8 into 7 doesn't go, with 7 left over. 8 into 70 goes 8 times. 8 8s are 64. That gives us 6 left over. 8 into 60 goes 7 times. 8 7s are 56. So that leaves us 4 left over. And 8 into 40 goes 5. So 0.875 is 87.5%. And with the 17 over 20, we actually don't need to do a division if we don't want to, because if we changed 17 over 20 into something over 100, then that would give us a percentage. So we'd just times by 5, and 17 5s are 85 to create this equivalent fraction. So that's 85%. So putting these in order, remember you've got to put them in order in the form they were given to you. So the smallest one in that list is 80.4%. So we're going to put 0.804 as our first one. And we've ticked that one off. The next smallest one is the 84%. So that's 0.84 next. Then 85% is next. So we write 17 over 20 for that one. Then we've got 87.5%, so that's our 7 8ths. And then lastly, the 88.5%. Okay. And we're just going to do a little bit of work with positive and negative numbers, and then that'll be us finished. So, negative 5 times 0.8. So, 5 times 0.8, you could do 5 times 8 and then divide by 10. So 5 8s are 40, so this must be 4. and a negative times a positive gives us a negative. Okay, so 160 divided by negative 20. Well, 160 divided by 20 is 8. And then a positive divided by a negative. Remember, each time you multiply by a positive or a negative, each time you multiply by a negative, it changes the sign that you are at. So that makes that a negative 8. Then we've got negative 4, add negative 12. So you're starting at negative 4 on your number line. And if you're adding in 12 more negative points, if you like, then you're going down the way by 12. So you're going to end up at negative 16. And then the last one, negative 16. So we're down at negative 16. And we, we take away negative 5. Now remember, if you take away negativity, things get better. So we're going up the number line by 5, which takes us to negative 11. Okay, so well done. This will be probably the last teaching video of this term. So you've got your list of what's in everything, what's in all the videos, and just give me a shout if there's anything that you're not sure about, and I will see you later.